Let's talk about November 2025. We're almost nearing the end of year 9, which is a year of completions, endings, rewards for past efforts. November is month 11, a month where a lot of us could be putting in additional work, maybe even gaining rewards for our past efforts. But altogether, 9 and 11 make 20, and it's about transforming your belief systems in the month of November. Patience and having a new perspective, changing our perspective. The number 20 also talks of manifestations, family, and of course, 2 is also love, because we have the 2 in there, and 20 is a major arcana, the Judgment card. And the card really talks about reflection, going over the past, moving beyond the past, facing the truth of a situation, making a big choice and a big renewal. So there's a chance to start something new after you realize what is at hand. So a lot of us could be actually coming to a lot of realizations, manifesting, getting closer to family members. Some of us might be talking to people from the past, whether it is friends, exes, family, people we haven't seen, talked to in a while. We could be renewing an old situation, an old friendship, an old commitment to something. Let's get into some astrology. November 4th, Mars will enter Sagittarius. So from the 4th of November till December 14th, Mars will be in Sagittarius. November 5th, we have a full moon in the sign of Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus, so this gives a lot of stability to this full moon. But we also do have Mars and Mercury together in Sagittarius, which can lead to a lot of triggering conversations that we will be having on or around this full moon. So watch out for that. November 6th, Venus enters Scorpio. November 7th, Uranus moves back into Taurus, and this is a really big deal. Those of you who have planets, the last degree of Taurus, you're going to have Uranus going over those planets yet again, bringing in intense changes into your life, especially if you have planets from 27 to 30 degrees of Taurus, more changes coming into your life. And even anybody who has personal planets from 27 to 30 degrees of Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, and it doesn't have to be anything bad. It could be very exciting changes, but you could see your life changing up a bit. Venus will square Pluto. A lot of intense relationship issues could be going around, jealousy, manipulation, intense relationships with that Venus in Scorpio, Venus squaring Pluto, and Uranus moving back into Taurus, where we have the full moon on the 5th. So the first week of November can bring on a lot of intense relationship issues. And we've got Mercury retrograding November 9th through the 29th. So from November 9th until the 18th, Mercury retrograde is in Sagittarius. And then from November 18th through the 29th, Mercury is retrograding in Scorpio. We are reflecting on our friendships, our communication, our skill sets. In particular, for the first 2 weeks of November, do be careful of triggering conversations, arguments that could arise as Mars is together with Mercury. So a lot of us might be talking to people we haven't talked to in a while, people from the past, whether it is friends, it's exes, it's family members you haven't seen in a while. When Mercury is retrograding, there could be a lot of confusion, miscommunication. It's good to back up all your data and just be really cautious with communication. Try to stay flexible. Plans can change at any moment. November 11th, Jupiter turns retrograde. So again, a time to go within, reflect on all your commitments, what it is that you want. November 12th, Mercury, which will be retrograding at the time, is going to conjunct Mars. So be very cautious traveling and with communication. There is an even bigger chance for miscommunication or saying things we might regret later. So really watch your communication around that day. November 20th, the Sun will conjunct with retrograding Mercury in Scorpio, and we also have a new moon in Scorpio. So a lot of intense emotions are coming up within us around the 20th. Venus will also be in Scorpio. Wherever you have the sign Scorpio, this is where a new beginning is getting initiated in the month of November going into December. But because Mercury is retrograding at the time in the sign of Scorpio, it might be something that you have to redo, revise a few times, but an important new beginning. And the ruler of the new moon, Mars, will be in Sagittarius at the time. So this can also be an area where something is opening up to you. November 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius. On the 24th, Mercury will conjunct with Venus, and this is a time we might be hearing from people we haven't heard from in a while. Romantic prospects, maybe even exes for some of you, because Mercury will be retrograding. November 27th, Saturn is going direct in Pisces, 25 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is also here for the last time in probably our lifetime, so we are going over the lessons again in the sign of Pisces of confusion, not seeing reality, and now Saturn showing it to us. And now Saturn is revealing hard truths wherever it is that you have Pisces. So if you're just going over things, analyzing things, or things are happening in your life, you can expect a lot of clarity wherever you have the sign of Pisces in November, December, and January. November 29th, Mercury turns direct, and November 30th, Venus will enter the sign of Sagittarius. So a big month, a lot of reflection, going back to the past, whether physically or just mentally analyzing over in your head what transpired, maybe even taking a second look if there is something salvageable, something to fix from the past, something to renew, or something just to learn from and move on from. But this can bring on some intense relationship issues for some of us. If you found this helpful, like, comment, subscribe for more. It really helps out the channel. Everything is timestamped down below. Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So November 4th, all the way until December 14th, Mars, the planet of action, is in Sagittarius, your 9th house. So you could be really focused on travel plans, learning something new, maybe even teaching something, working on something to publish, whether it is a book, something for social media. But there could be disagreements with teachers, there could be disagreements with a father figure. All men in your life might be more argumentative. If you are involved in a legal matter, this could cause a little bit more aggravation in the month of November, early December. Mercury is also sitting with Mars, so at least to the middle of the month, watch out for being instigated, more arguments, more disagreements. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. This is your second house of self-esteem, possessions, the money that you make. A full moon is something coming to fruition or an ending. So this could be an ending around a source of income, maybe you giving away, throwing away things you no longer need. But at the same time, for a lot of you, this can be celebrating, maybe getting a promotion, getting a new job, starting a new business, or you could be doing that in the month of November. The planet ruling over this full moon, Venus, at the time is in your 7th house of partnerships. This could be a partner that starts making more money, bringing in more income, or through a business partnership. You acquire more wealth, more money through partnering with other people, through sharing your ideas with other people. This can also mean a big focus on the money that you make, the money that you bring in, your self-esteem and your possessions this month. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio, where it's joining the sun. So joint finances is also something that's very important to you in the month of November, but not just joint finances. 8th house is other people's money. It is intimacy, transformations of any kind. And this is where the joy will be for you for the month of November. Maybe doing a lot of research, getting into metaphysical studies, occult knowledge, transforming your psyche, Even watching thrillers, crime documentaries, anything like that is going to bring you a lot of joy and pleasure. Just be careful around the 7th, 8th, 9th, because on the 7th, Venus is squaring off with Pluto, and this can really instigate a lot of relationship issues. There could be a lot of relationship drama, jealousy, things like that may come up. Also on the 7th, Uranus is now retrograding back into Taurus. This is your second house of finances. From the 7th of November all the way until the springtime of next year, Uranus is back in Taurus. If you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you're going to have a lot of different changes occurring in your life right now. Uranus is that unpredictable energy, and it being in your second house could really mean that finances are up and down for the next few months, but also a big opportunity to change this area of your life. If it's affecting a personal planet such as Moon, Venus, there could be changes in the home, in the love life, sun, career, and Uranus has already been over this area a few times. So it is coming back in, shaking things up in your financial sector for the next few months. The big thing this month is on the 9th, Mercury will station retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. From the 9th until the 29th of November, Mercury is retrograde. It's starting its retrograde motion in your 9th house area, where you might need to redo, revise, be open and flexible to plans changing when it comes to travel, immigration, passports, legal issues of any sort, issues around schooling and education, issues around publishing, whether it is you writing a book, making content, anything like that. There may be things you need to redo. From the 18th to the 29th, you might have to redo things around finances, taxes, insurance policies, health insurance policies. Things like this might need to be redone, revised, reanalyzed. Maybe you need to pick different plans. There may be issues around finances, joint finances. If you are counting on money, whether it is from a partner, a spouse, or somebody else to come in, it might be something that is delayed. So it's not necessarily bad, but there could just be issues surrounding these areas. Be cautious of arguments, disagreements, especially around the 12th, but really the first half of November as Mercury is sitting with Mars. Also on the 11th and for the next few months, Jupiter will be retrograding in your 4th house of home and family, giving you time to reflect on your inner security, your home life. And as Jupiter rules your 9th house and your 12th house, you can also really be analyzing how you self-sabotage yourself, your mental health, what holds you back in life, and any educational path, travel plans, or publishing deal that you may be wanting to do. November 20th, Mercury conjuncts the Sun. We call this a cazimi. A new beginning is being birthed in this area for you, and it's the same area of the Scorpio New Moon on the 20th. Your 8th house area of joint finances, intimacy, transformation. This is where you are unlocking a new beginning. Your partner or spouse could start making more money. This is a time you benefit from other people's money, whether it is through loans, inheritance, sales, partnerships, even the stock market. This can also be a skill set, maybe a metaphysical skill set. You are doing some research, really analyzing things, gaining some secret knowledge, deepening your bond with your significant other. So this is not just any ordinary new beginning. This is something that's going to bring you a lot of fulfillment over the next year. Venus is also sitting there, and Venus rules your 7th house of partnership. For a lot of you, this could be marriage and making things official, or the beginning of a brand new partnership, whether personal or business. On the 21st, the Sun enters your 9th house area. A big focus is turning to publishing, spirituality, travel. November 27th, Saturn is now direct in Pisces, so all the way until early next year, you have Saturn and Neptune hanging out in your 12th house, and that is shifting the focus to mental health, your subconscious belief systems. An excellent time to let go of any and all negative habits, fears, anything that holds you back, any type of self-sabotage. You're going to be working on this one last time before Saturn leaves and goes back into your sign. On the 29th, Mercury finally turns direct. I hope this was helpful, Aries. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of anger and action, will be in your 8th house of joint finances from November 4th until December 14th. All of November and half of December, it can be a month where you're really looking back at your past, and a lot of unpleasant things can come up that you are dealing with on a subconscious level. Some of you might be putting in a lot of time into research, studying occult knowledge, occult subjects, metaphysical subjects. Issues with money and joint finances can come up. So you and a partner or any kind of business partnerships, especially when it comes to money, there could be arguments around that, around money, bills, responsibilities, finances, even maybe changing out insurance policies, things like that can come up and cause a little bit of aggravation. There might be some frustrations the first half of the month as Mercury, which will also be retrograde, is with Mars. So miscommunication, arguments, disagreements. November 5th, there is a full moon in your first house. A full moon is something coming to fruition or an ending. This can be a month where you are being celebrated for your accomplishments. You could be completely changing your health, your style, your workout routine. Your whole life plan could be changing. So you could be getting celebrated for something, or you could be doing away with a part of your life that you no longer want to keep around, whether that is old clothes, an old style, an old way of doing things. Your ruler Venus at the time of the full moon is in your 6th house. 6th house is the house of work, health, employees, co-workers, debt. So this could be a time where maybe you take on debt for something, you're paying off debt, and it's really health focused. So a lot of you could be shifting your health, shifting your look. You could be just starting this out, or this could be something where you are now reaping the benefits of making healthy choices, changing your health, and now it is apparent to you and everybody around you that you have completely changed your look, your style, your health around. For a lot of you, it could have been changes that have already occurred that you are now celebrating. Maybe it was a move, a new job, something that is putting you and your whole life path in a new direction. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio where it joins the sun. So what's really going to bring you a lot of joy, a lot of fulfillment in November is relationships, getting close to somebody, taking a relationship to the next level, business partnerships of any kind, partnering with other people, maybe to make content, to make a business deals. For a lot of you, this is the month of date night, romantic nights, falling in love. Just be careful around the 6th, 7th, and 8th, because on the 7th, Venus is squaring Pluto, and this can bring up issues in relationships, especially jealousy, manipulation, things like that. November 7th, Uranus is moving back into Taurus. So from November 7th until the end of April of 2026, you have Uranus back in your first house. If you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you will be very much affected by this. If it's Venus, it's your love life changing. If it's Moon, family, moving, Sun, your health, your style, your career. And even if you are a Taurus rising from 25 to 30 degrees, you may feel that you are under major change yet again with your looks, your personal style, your health, where you want to go in this life. And since it is opposing your 7th house, a lot of you might find sudden love, might suddenly change your style. And this can happen from November all the way until the spring of 2026. November 9th, Mercury goes retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your 8th house of joint finances. This is a time where you might have to revise any and all shared responsibilities that you have with a partner, a spouse. Financial matters might be up in the air. Maybe even deciding to get new insurance policies, whether it's health insurance, maybe redoing your taxes, things like this may be confusing. If you are depending on finances, whether it is from a partner, from a loan, or from the government or anything like that, things like this may also be up in the air. From the 18th to the 29th, Mercury will be retrograding in your 7th house of business partnerships, clients, spouse, partner, a time where you might be reminiscing about past partners, past lovers, and they may actually be contacting you, maybe through text or maybe even meeting up with some of them. So you may be analyzing the past lovers, past friendships. Any and all business contracts can also be up for review. For you, Taurus, Mercury also rules over your 2nd house of income, possessions, and your 5th house of romance, creativity, and children. So anytime Mercury goes retrograde, things regarding your possessions, family, finances, romance, creativity, and children can be something that is up in the air. You might be analyzing this. You might be analyzing if the current partner that you are with is the right one for you. It might be a time when exes contact you. You might be thinking about people from the past. Also a time where you could be sorting out a lot of financial things, bills, subscription, anything like that. You might be reanalyzing all this stuff at the time. On the 11th, Jupiter now stations retrograde in your 3rd house of communication. November really becomes a big month on going within and reviewing everything, making sure that we are happy with the way things are going. Be cautious of arguments, disagreements, especially really from the 1st until the middle of the month, but it's most potent right in the middle where Mercury exactly conjuncts with Mars. The 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, this can really be extreme where people are just arguing for no reason, instigating each other. Everyone's a little bit confused and pissed off, so do watch out for this. On the 20th, Mercury exactly conjuncts with the Sun. We call this a cazimi. It is a reset, landing right on the November 20th, new moon in Scorpio in your 7th house of partnership. And for you, this is a new partnership, taking a new romance to the next level, a new business partner that will bring in a lot of money, clients, a new source of income to you, new clients coming to your business. If you have a business, you're on social media, that is the new beginning you will be undertaking in November, and even early December is a relationship, or maybe even rekindling an old romance. November 27th, Saturn goes direct at 25 degrees of Pisces in your 11th house. So over the next 2 months, you might be really reanalyzing your future plans, your future goals, who you want to surround yourself with, any and all friendships. So your friendships might be undergoing a change. Issues with an older sibling can come to light, or maybe even things kept from you from a friend group can be revealed, come to light over the next 2 months. On the 29th, Mercury goes direct, improving all communication and giving us a lot of clarity to what has been confusing us all month long. I hope this was helpful, Taurus. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of anger and action, will be in your 7th house all of November, basically, and half of December, exactly from November 4th till December 14th. The 7th house rules your spouse, your partner, your partnerships, your friends, the public, your clients, business partners. And when Mars comes in here, there could be disagreements with a partner, a spouse, business partners, clients. So do watch out for that. They could be a little bit more aggravated, taking it out on you. There could also be intense attractions. If you find yourself really arguing, fighting with a partner, a spouse, it's time to do more action-oriented things together. Work out, go out, do something for a common goal both of you have. Be more active together. That way you can ignite more passion and less argument. But there can be disagreements even with friends, with business partners, so watch out for that. People can just be more argumentative with you. Mars is also going to be sitting with Mercury basically the first half of November, and this is your ruling planet, which will also be retrograding, so do watch out for miscommunication. people instigating arguments, sensationalizing stories. November 5th, there is a full moon in Taurus. This is the 12th house. A full moon means something coming to fruition, or it is an ending. This could be you finally healing your subconscious mind, letting go of any and all negative habits, letting go of ways that you self-sabotage yourself, finally finding a way to deal with it on a more positive level. The ruler Venus is in your 5th house, so whatever it is that you are releasing is going to improve your happiness, your joy, your relationship with your children, your romantic relationships as well. So whatever it is that you are doing, you're letting go of, is really going to help you improve your life. And it actually might lead to a romance for a lot of you, a new creative venture, new creative projects. You're discovering new ways to have fun, new ways to let yourself be the star of the show. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio, your 6th house of daily routines, health, work. For you, this whole month is about improvement, improving your mental health, your physical health, getting organized, improving your daily routine. And as Venus will be in your 6th house for most of the month, this is actually something that's going to bring you joy and fulfillment throughout November. Watch out on the 7th, 8th, 9th, because on the 7th, Venus is squaring off with Pluto, which can bring issues to relationships, jealousy, manipulation, relationship aggravations. On the 7th, Uranus now retrogrades back into your 12th house of Taurus, where it will stay until spring of 2026, giving you new insights into your subconscious mind, releasing ways that you self-sabotage yourself through relationships, through the way that you think. If you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you can have a lot of changes, very unexpected, as Uranus brings from now until spring of next year. Say it is Venus, it is changes in relationships, money, style. If it's moon, it's moving, your home life, your family, sun, look, career, image. And this can be happening over the next few months. November 9th, your ruling planet, Mercury, stations retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your 7th house of relationships. Mercury is going to be retrograding from the 9th until the 29th of November, and it is starting its retrograde in your relationship house. So this can have you thinking about your ex-partners, exes, old friends may reach out to you. You may even have a reunion of some sort. You could also be analyzing a current relationship, any and all business contacts, business contract. On the 18th, Mercury will retrograde back into your 6th house, where there may be confusion or things you have to analyze about work, your business, your finances, or even your health. On the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 2nd house of self-esteem, income, the money that you make. So you may be revising ways that you spend money, your subscriptions, all of this. But when Jupiter is going retrograde, it also affects your relationship house. You can also be rethinking any and all of your business relationships, your relationships in general. It really is a month to go within, to reflect on everything. Make sure you back up all your data, double check any and all communication. It can be a confusing time. Electronics may not work right. Things may just not go as planned. So be open to being flexible. Plans may change last minute. Be watchful, especially around the 12th when Mars exactly conjuncts with Mercury. But really even the first 2 weeks of November, we can be having a lot of triggering conversations, a lot of anger, a lot of arguments. On the 20th, Mercury comes together with the Sun, which coincides with the November 20th New Moon in Scorpio. This is your 6th house of daily habits, work, health. This is a new beginning, whether it is you starting a new job, a new business, hiring new employees if you own a business, new coworkers coming to work with you, new work responsibilities, your true life's purpose, a new business that you want to pursue, a new career you want to pursue. you completely changing up your health, a new diet, a new workout regimen, a new daily routine, a new way that you deal with money, paying off debt, restructuring all your bills, your life in a new way. The ruler of this new moon is Mars, which is sitting in your 7th house. Maybe a new romance that starts at work or a new business partnership that really improves your job, your work environment, new clients coming to you. On the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius, really highlighting collaborations, relationships of all kinds. November 27th, Saturn will station direct at 25 degrees of Pisces. This is your 10th house, and Saturn and Neptune are back in there for just a little while longer. They're going to leave early next year and go into your 11th house. But issues around authority figures, bosses, work, your public image, what you want to do, may be prominent for you in the month of December, even January. November 29th, your ruling planet Mercury finally turns direct, and on the 30th, Venus is going into Sagittarius. So from the 30th and going into December, if you've had any arguments with a spouse or partner, this can get smoothed out. So at the very end of the month and going into December, relationships, romance is what's going to bring you a lot of joy. I hope that this was helpful, Gemini. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of anger and action, will be in your 6th house of work, health, routine from November 4th until December 14th. This means that basically all of November and half of December, there could be aggravation from your employees. If you own a business, co-workers at work could be aggravating you. So do watch out for arguments within the workplace. You may start to get very motivated about your health, your healing, maybe start a new diet, a new workout regimen. This is really fantastic for that, as Mars tends to make us very motivated right here. You can also be very motivated to get rid of debt, pay off your bills, get organized within your home. Be watchful that this can make you more impatient and you could be running around doing things faster. So there is a bigger chance of getting hurt. And because Mercury is sitting with Mars half of the month, there could be a lot of conflict in the air, disagreements. So watch out for this. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. Both the full and new moon are very supportive to your sign this month. A full moon is something coming to fruition. It has reached its peak, or it can be an ending around this area of your life. So it could be a time where you cut ties, maybe end a friendship, leave a group that you used to belong to, be involved with. But for a lot of you, this could be a celebration, reaching a peak. Maybe you're gaining more attention, more followers. If you are on social media and you have a business, or you're about to attain a big goal, you're going to be celebrated. At the time of the full moon, the ruler is going into your 4th house of home and family. So this can actually bring you a lot of fulfillment, a new job, a new car, a new home, a new purpose, reaching your inner security needs. So whatever you are undertaking now, whether it is by yourself or you're setting goals for the future, maybe with a group, with a friendship circle, will lead to a lot of inner fulfillment. November 6th, Venus will enter your 5th house of love and romance. So for you, love, romance, having fun with your children, creative projects, creative outlets, having fun is what will be the highlight. It's going to bring you a lot of joy through the month of November. Also on the same day, Venus is squaring off with Pluto. So this can bring up issues with jealousy. Relationship issues can come up around the 7th, 8th, 9th. And also on the 7th, Uranus is now retrograding back into Taurus in your 11th house. So from November 7th until April 26th of 2026, Uranus is back in that same area of your 11th house. If you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you can really feel a shift, a big change, but this can also shake up your friendship circle. You could be drawn to new groups of people, friends that are totally different from you, and of course, all types of friendships in your life may undergo a big change from November all the way until next spring. So it seems like like your friendship circle is really changing. Your hopes and dreams, your plans for the future could be drastically changing as well. On the 9th, Mercury will station retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your 6th house of health, work, routine, co-workers. There could be issues around work, co-workers, employees if you own a business, things that maybe you are changing health-wise, routine-wise. Of course, all the Mercury retrograde rules apply. Be extra careful of any and all communication. Back up your data. Be flexible to things not going right, plans changing last minute. Mercury will be retrograde from the 9th to the 29th. On the 18th, Mercury is retrograding into your 5th house. So from the 18th to the 29th, you could be thinking about past lovers, friends you haven't seen in a while. If you are working on a creative project, it might take some analyzing, redoing to get things going. You might also be rethinking a current romantic partner. Or there may even be miscommunication between you and a romantic partner, but this is also a time where exes can be reaching out and you can be reminiscing about past connections. It's a time to go within, review, make sure that you are happy with everything. Be watchful that the middle of the month especially can be a little hard because we have Mercury sitting with Mars pretty much the first half of the month, so there could be angry conversations, people sensationalizing everything, and really we could just all be getting on each other's nerves, so there could be a lot of conflict in the air. Also on the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 1st house. So while it is retrograding over the next few months, really pay attention to signs, synchronicities, to your dreams. A lot of messages that Jupiter gives us as it's retrograding is internal. It's that stuff that we do not think of. That's important. That could give us a lot of clues and answers. This could also be a time where you are really rethinking your life path, your look, your style, your aesthetic, maybe even your hair, and you're thinking about changing things up a bit. On the 20th, Mercury conjuncts the Sun, and this is a cazimi, a big, huge reset in your Scorpio area, right on the new moon in Scorpio on the 20th. And this for you is the 5th house of romance, creativity, investments, joy, hobbies, having fun. Venus is also there, so for a lot of you, this could be the beginning of a new romance that can unfold over the next year that's really meaningful. Pregnancy, your children starting to do something new and fun, you getting closer to your children. A new creative venture that really takes off, a new hobby, having a lot more fun. For some of you, maybe even investing your money, new investments, more luck, more knowledge. The 5th house is one of the houses of luck. It's that house of joy, pure joy, love, connection. And this is that big reset. Now, because Mercury is retrograding at the time, it can be something that at first seems like, I don't know, or maybe you have to redo a few things, look at it from a different angle. But overall, it's a new beginning in this area that's going to bring you a lot of fulfillment over the course of the next year. On the 21st, the Sun will also join Mars in your 6th house, so really highlighting your career, your health, your daily routines in the month of November. On the 27th, Saturn will turn direct in your 9th house. So now you got Saturn and Neptune hanging out in your 9th house, but it's just until the beginning of next year, really highlighting education, travel, legal matters, your relationship with your father figure, publishing, making content. So there's that final work through in this area, because once Saturn and Neptune leave, they won't be back for a very, very long time. But issues around these things can come up in December, early January. On the 29th, Mercury finally goes direct. And on the 30th, Venus will join the Sun, Mars in your 6th house of daily routines, health, work. So at the end of the month and in December, the work atmosphere can be a little better, and you're going to have a lot of joy in actually organizing, getting fit, getting your daily routine on track going into December. I hope this was helpful, Cancer. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars, the planet of action and anger, will be in your 5th house house of children, romance, and creativity, exactly from November 4th until December 14th. So all of November and half of December, you've got Mars, the planet of action, going into your romance sector. So a lot of you might be arguing with a romantic partner, having disagreements, or maybe even strong attractions to new people if you are dating. This is fantastic for working on creative projects. You will need a creative outlet to let out all that ambition Mars is bringing into your fifth house of creativity. An excellent time to really work on a hobby. Start a brand new creative project. A great time to also get into sports, be more active, maybe find some active activities you can do with your children. Some of you might be really thinking about your investments. Those of you who have children can be more argumentative. You can have more disagreements with your children. From the 4th to the 18th, Mercury is also sitting with Mars. So there could be a lot of arguments, a lot of triggering conversations. So do watch out for that because that could be very much present the first 2 weeks of November. November 5th, there is a full moon in your 10th house of career and public image. A full moon could be something coming to fruition, or it could be an ending. This can mean you finished a work project, got a better job, got a promotion. You are celebrating something that you have accomplished when it comes to your career. It can also mean that you are leaving a job, you're leaving something behind when it comes to your career, what you do at work, or it can mean that people around you at work are changing. You might be getting a new boss, a new coworker, something at work is changing. The ruler of this new moon will be in the 3rd house. Maybe you are attaining more skills needed to do the job. You're trying to get new skills, or maybe teaching a class, promoting yourself, your business on social media, or within your community. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio, where it joins the sun in your 4th house. A great time to have company over, work on home projects. That's going to bring you a lot of joy and support throughout November. Also on the 7th, Venus and Pluto are squaring off, so there could be issues of jealousy, manipulation, or just relationship issues can come up on this day. On the 7th, Uranus goes back into Taurus, and Uranus will be in Taurus all the way until April 26th of 2026. So from November 7th until April 26th, there can be some ups and downs or changes happening within the workplace, what you do, your business, maybe you deciding you want to do something else. Now, this will be most potent if you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius. So even if you are a very late degree Leo rising, you're going to feel this push to change your career, what you do. You might have felt all these changes in your career, your public image over the last 7 years. But this time, as Uranus goes back into Taurus, it's about the 3rd time it's going over these last few degrees of Taurus. And a lot of you might be forced to change your job. Uranus is unpredictable energy. If you can predict it, it's not Uranus. A lot of times I see people end up in roles, careers, businesses they never even imagined. So if you are confused career-wise or what career moves to make, try something completely different. Then the big one for November is from the 9th all the way until the 29th, Mercury will be retrograding. It's going to station retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your 5th house of romance, creativity. For you guys, it might be a time where you're really reminiscing, thinking about people from the past, especially people you used to date. And definitely for you, this can be a time when old friends, old lovers try to contact you. Reach out via social media or just call, text. If you are working on a creative project, this may be a time where you have to redo things, revise. You could also be reconsidering a current romantic relationship. On the 18th, Mercury retrograde goes into Scorpio. So from the 18th to the 29th, it will be retrograding in your 4th house. This could be a time when things at home break down, need to be rearranged. You might be thinking about moving, not knowing where to move, having to have your vehicle serviced. Mercury retrograde can be a confusing time with a lot of miscommunication. And because we have Mercury retrograde also sitting with Mars for half the month, this month may bring up a lot of anger, arguments, people just trying to trigger each other. So watch out for that. Pay attention to that. Don't get caught up in that. All the Mercury retrograde rules apply. Back up your data, check all communication, try to be really flexible about everything. Just double check everything. Even electronics may break down. Things may just not work as intended. On the 11th, Jupiter will also station retrograde in your 12th house. It's going to be retrograding for the next few months, and it's a really great time to watch signs, synchronicities, dreams. A lot of things that you want answers to can be revealed to you in that way, that internal way where you just pick things up and make sense of it. On the 20th, the Sun conjuncts with Mercury exactly. And this is a huge deal because it's a big reset, landing right on the new moon, November 20th, new moon in Scorpio in your 4th house. So you are having a new beginning, but it is much more than a new beginning. Something that will be very important, at least over the next year. Venus is there also, maybe redecorating, restyling your home in some way, reorganizing a new family member, a pet, a big move, a new car, something that is really important to you for a long time to come. Now, because Mercury is going to be retrograding, it might take a few tries or a few shifts for everything to work out, but it's something that is really important. A new beginning in your home and family life is opening up to you, Leo. On the 21st, the Sun will enter Sagittarius, your 5th house, where Mars is all month long. So it's really highlighting that creative sector, romantic sector in November for you. On the 27th, Saturn will turn direct in your 8th house. So this is the last role that Saturn and Neptune are having in this area of your life for a very, very long time. There can be new responsibilities coming to you. You and your partner sharing money in a different way. Maybe you even receiving less money from your partner. Those of you who are married, it's really highlighting a big focus on shared resources, shared responsibility. And of course, Neptune is there, so it can make things confusing. But it's really just till the beginning of the year next year. So it's that last test. And a lot of time, Saturn will leave you a gift as it leaves. So you're going to be more responsible with money, have a better handle on your joint finances. The 29th, Mercury finally goes direct, which is awesome for communication. And on the 30th, Venus will enter Sagittarius. So at the very end of the month, and going into December, your 5th house of romance, creativity, investments, children, it's very much highlighted. So you can be having more romantic encounters, more fun with your children, just more fun in general towards the end of the month. I hope this was helpful, Leo. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. Mars, the planet of action and anger, will be in your 4th house of home, family from November 4th till December 14th. All of November and half of December, there can be some arguments, disagreements with family members, with the mother. There can be things in your home that break down, need to be fixed, worked on. Sometimes this can bring up issues with the car or vehicle, or maybe having to have it serviced. An excellent time to work on home-related projects, whether it is cleaning your house out, getting rid of clutter, organizing. So the more home projects that you undertake, the less argumentative you're going to be with your family members. That Mars energy will have to be expelled somewhere, so the best thing you can do is really take on some home-related projects. Mercury will be retrograding almost all month long, joining in with Mars in your 4th house, so there could be a lot of frustrations, and you may feel like people are just picking fights with you. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. This is your 9th house of luck, divine support, support. And a full moon is not just an ending, but something coming to fruition. So it could be your work that is being published, whether content or social media actually getting published, maybe taking a trip, something you are working on really paying off and making you more money. On another note, you may be finishing an educational path. There may finally be an end to a court case, a court proceeding. Coming back from a trip, maybe you planned a trip. Another thing that can happen, so pay close attention, Virgos, because this is the house of luck. And the ruler on the day of the full moon is going into your second house of possessions, money. You could come across something within the first week of November, whether it is content, a podcast, or somebody that just inspires you, something that looks like something you might even want to do for work, because Uranus will be going into your 10th house soon, so you might be inspired to do something else. So watch those inspirations, because that could be the very thing that starts off a business venture for you, a money-making enterprise, a business, a new career. So pay attention to the signs. Look at what inspires you. The first 5 days of November, you still have Venus in your second house. An excellent time to go shopping, buy yourself something nice, indulge in some fine dining. November 6th, Venus will enter your third house. After the 6th, you're going to really find a lot of joy in communicating, learning something, going out, joining a community, maybe even finding love online in your neighborhood, or produce some really great content, especially if you work on social media. The sun is also shining a light on your third house. Even indulging in some online chatter, online gossip will bring you a lot of enjoyment. Also on the 7th, Venus will square Pluto, which may shake up relationships or bring out some jealousy, bring out strong attractions, maybe even with someone from work. Also on the 7th, Uranus is retrograding back into your 9th house area. So from the 7th of November all the way until April 26th of 2026, Uranus is in your 9th house, shaking up your belief systems, maybe changing your belief systems, expanding your mind with knowledge that you might have not been drawn to before. So it's the last time that you're going to have Uranus in your 9th house, because after April of next year, it will be in your career house. The big thing in November is that your ruling planet Mercury is going retrograde exactly on the 9th until the 29th of November. So pretty much all month long. On the 9th, it stations retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your 4th house of home, family, your deep security, your needs, your emotions. There could be things that you are analyzing about your home life, whether it is maybe you want to move, redecorate your relationships, and things in the home might need to be repaired. Maybe you need to redo things in your home. For you, Virgo, Mercury rules over your health, your body, your path in life, and your career. So things at work may be up in the air. You might have to redo, revise work projects. You might also be thinking about changing your health routine, the way that you look, your clothing, your style. And of course, the normal Mercury retrograde rules apply. It's a time to really revise, rethink, go within, back up all your data, double check all your communications. Electronics may go haywire. Even things in your home might need to be repaired. On the 11th, Jupiter stations retrograde in your 11th house, giving you time to reflect on your friendships, your growth, and your future plans. On the 12th, retrograding Mercury will conjunct with Mars. This is the time where there could be disagreements, explosive fights. People could really be triggering you. On the 19th, retrograding Mercury now goes back to your 3rd house, and this is where you should really watch all your communication, watch anything that you are producing as far as content, your software, your electronics. But it actually becomes very important because on the 20th, the same day as the new moon, Mercury comes together with the sun in your 3rd house. We call it a cazimi. It's a big, huge reset, a renewing. You're starting something new. Very, very powerful as it's happening on the new moon in Scorpio. So this new beginning you are initiating, whether you are learning something new, producing content, maybe for social media, writing something, showcasing off your talent, or wanting to do that, it can be something that you might have to redo a few times to get it right, but it can be extremely beneficial for you in the long run. And because this new moon involves Mercury, the planet that rules over you, and Venus, it could actually be that you guys are completely rearranging your daily routine. It can take some readjustments, but you guys can completely change your day-to-day life, how you live your life every day from morning to night, your schedule. A new moon in your third house can also mean there's new beginnings in the life of your sibling. Your neighborhood may be changing in new ways. Maybe you're getting new neighbors. On the 27th, Saturn is now direct at 25 degrees of Pisces. This means that you have Saturn and Neptune both in your 7th house for the next 2 months. All Virgos will feel this, but if you are a Virgo rising from 25 to 30 degrees, you will feel this a lot more. Saturn may help you sort through any illusions you may have had in a relationship, a marriage, a partnership. Things you are unaware of may come to light. So it can be a time where you could work through your problems with your partner. Some of you may even decide to leave a relationship. Some of you may meet somebody new or take a relationship to the next level, get more serious about somebody. On the 29th, your ruling planet, Mercury, finally goes direct in your third house. So communication will be a lot smoother starting the end of November. On the 30th, the planet of love and beauty, Venus, will go into your 4th house of home and family. So if there have been family disagreements, arguments, it can finally be smoothed over. From the 30th going into December, you can really enjoy spending time at home, maybe redecorating. Whatever you've been working on all month in November will finally feel like it has paid off. And you may have more fun with family members. I hope that this was helpful for you, Virgo. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars, the planet of action and anger, is transiting your third house from November 4th till December 14th. So all of November, half of December, you can really become very ambitious, very goal-oriented, maybe even competitive within your field. You could be studying something, learning something. There may be issues with electronics. There can also be some arguments, disagreements with neighbors, with your siblings. This can be an excellent time to start a new workout program. When Mars is transiting the third, we are more outgoing, so you can actually be very active going out to new places, the shops, the mall, the restaurants. So you're going to be more active in your community. Just be watchful, as Mars in the third house can sometimes trigger some road rage around you, so you can see more angry people out on the road. Especially from the 4th to the 19th, when Mercury will be together with Mars in your third house, things could be triggering for you. More arguments could be had. People around you may sensationalize everything. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. This is your 8th house of shared resources. A full moon is something coming to complete fruition, or it can signify an ending. It could be a time where your partner or spouse starts bringing in more money, or some business deal that you have had worked out and brought in more money. It can also be a time where you are going off on your own and no longer relying on a source of income you were getting from somebody else. The ruler of this full moon is Venus, your ruling planet, which can signify a big transformation with your health, your look, your diet, your path in life. And the first 5 days of November is an excellent time to change up your look, buy yourself something nice, buy new clothing, change up your aesthetic, your style. November 6th, your ruling planet Venus is going into your 2nd house. This is also a great time for shopping, buying yourself something nice, indulging in life's pleasures, fine dining. That will bring you a lot of joy in November. November 7th, Venus will square Pluto in your 5th house. This can intensify relationship issues, bring things up like jealousy, manipulation. Or this can be a time where you meet somebody and you're really attracted to somebody, start a new romance. Also on the 7th, retrograding Uranus moves back into Taurus, your 8th house. So from the 7th of November until April 26th of next year, Uranus is back in your 8th house. And if you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you can feel that a lot is changing in your life. especially your money, the money that you share, your responsibilities, your relationships. And that can be seen from November all the way till next spring. November 9th, Mercury turns retrograde in your third house of communication at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. So from the 9th to the 29th, Mercury is retrograding. Double check any and all your communication, your emails, back up your data, because things can get confusing, things can break down, electronics can break down. If you are learning something, teaching something, publishing your work, this can mean that things need to be redone, revised. You need to go over things more. November 11th, Jupiter stations retrograde in your 10th house of career and public image. So over the next few months, you might be analyzing any new career moves that you want to take, your future goals, your future career plans. Really try to watch your communication on the 12th, as retrograding Mercury will conjunct Mars in your third house. So be more cautious driving and just watch your communication, because this can be a time where everybody is more argumentative. Everybody could be picking fights with people. On the 19th, Mercury will then retrograde back into your second house, where you might actually need to analyze all your bills, your finances, your speech, your diet. There could be things that you are going over when it comes to financial matters, responsibilities, and making changes to the way that you spend money, the way that you save money, what you spend money on, any subscriptions. You could really be analyzing and going over that the second half of the Mercury retrograde. November 20th, Mercury will come together with the Sun in your second house of Scorpio. This is like a brand new beginning. We call it a cazimi. It is where you are initiating something new that will benefit you long term. And this is really important because on the 20th, we have a new moon in Scorpio, so it's extra potent. This is your second house of income, finances. For some of you, this is a new job, a promotion, new possessions, new family responsibilities, a new business that you are building. And because Mercury is retrograding at the time, you may have to try something out a few times. Do it in a different way, but ultimately it will be very beneficial and bring in new money to you. A new way that you support yourself, more confidence. On the 21st, the Sun goes into Sagittarius, really highlighting that area of courage, self-promotion, being on social media, showcasing your skills, learning something new. On the 27th, Saturn turns direct in your 6th house. So now you got Saturn and Neptune back in your 6th house, but it's only really for December, January. It will then go into your 7th house. So there can be things at work that are going on. Employees aggravating you, coworkers aggravating you, truth coming to light, and you may be even deciding that you want to leave a job. Any health matters that you were unaware of could come to light, or maybe you were working on your health, paying off debt. On the 29th, Mercury finally turns direct in your 2nd house. So this is when communication can finally start flowing easier, and whatever you were working on can finally come together if anything was confusing throughout the month. So it's a big month to review, revise, make a lot of changes in your life. Just watch out for arguments, disagreements, people trying to trigger you. I hope this was helpful, Libra. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of action and anger, is going to be transiting your 2nd house from November 4th till December 14th. Basically, all of November and half of December, watch out for spending, impulsive spending. You're also going to be very motivated to maybe start a business, start making more money in different ways. There may be arguments, disagreements within the family around finances, around shared resources, what it is that you have to do, responsibilities, home-based responsibilities. There may be arguments around these topics. Watch out that you don't lose or damage any of your possessions. And because Mercury is retrograde, Mars is in your 2nd house, be careful how you speak to your family members. You may say things you may later regret. Mars can make you more hasty, more argumentative. Mercury will also be together there with Mars, so people can be sensationalized things. People can be starting fights. You could get angry. So watch out for disagreements, frustrations, a lot of aggravations. November 5th, we have a full moon in the sign of Taurus. A full moon is an ending or something coming to fruition. So if you've been working on something with a partner, a business partner, things can finally be finalized right now. You could be taking a relationship to the next level. Marriage, getting more serious with somebody. This can also be a time where you leave and end a relationship, as the ruler of this full moon at the time will be in the 12th house of losses. So for some of you, it may be a breakup, a dissolving of a contract, the end of a business partnership. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio, where the sun is shining a light on in November, and this means that you can be more charismatic, more magnetic, attract love into your life if you are single, change up your look, your hairstyle, your aesthetic. An excellent time to make some beauty changes if that is what you wear. An excellent time to make some beauty changes if that is what you're after. Also on the 7th, Venus will be squaring off with Pluto in your 4th house. This can intensify relationship issues, bring up jealousy, manipulation, arguments within relationship. Also on the 7th, Uranus retrogrades back into your 7th house. So from November 7th all the way until April, Uranus is back in your 7th house. And if you are a late degree Scorpio rising from 25 to 30 degree, this can really shake up your relationship. Sudden love, sudden attraction, sudden breakup. A lot of relationship changes could be going on from now until spring of next year. And then the big one for the month, on the 9th, Mercury stations retrograde. So from the 9th of November until the 29th of November, Mercury is retrograding. On the 9th, it starts retrograding in your 2nd house. You might be analyzing your bills, your subscriptions, the way that you make money, your finances. And then on the 19th, it will shift to your 1st house, where you could really be analyzing your look, your aesthetics, your relationship, your life path, where you want to go, who you want to be with, your health, your daily habits, and of course, all the Mercury retrograde rules apply. Be careful with communication, with emails, electronics may break down. Think about the changes that you want to make in your life. Watch out on the 12th, because we're going to have an exact conjunction with Mercury retrograde and Mars, which can bring up arguments, disagreements, people just really frustrating everybody. Also on the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 9th house of higher education, travel, teaching, learning, publishing. And this could be a time to reflect on what you want to learn, where you want to go, your philosophies on life. On the 20th, Mercury comes together with the sun. We call this a cazimi. It's an initiation, a new beginning, an important beginning, because on the 20th, we also have a new moon in Scorpio. So it's your sign. You are starting something brand new that's going to have lasting effect. And this can have to do with your life path, your skill sets, your look, your aesthetic, your relationships. A lot is changing in your life. Whatever you are setting into motion will really be with you for a long time to come. So a lot of you are changing up your health, your diet, your look. This is a huge month for new beginnings in your life, Scorpio. And the ruler of your 7th house, relationships, is in your 1st house, joining in on this new moon. So for a lot of you, this new beginning could involve a new romantic partner, a romantic partner, a business partnership, partnering with somebody else in some way. As Uranus will also be in your 7th house, a lot of you might just meet somebody, fall in love really quickly, sporadically, out of the blue in November or December. On the 27th, Saturn will go direct at 25 degrees of Pisces in your 5th house of children, creativity, romance, really turning your attention to your relationship with your children, your creative project, your investments, or if you have been having issues with a romantic partner, someone has been dishonest with you, all of this could be revealed to you. And Saturn can make it that you let go of a romantic partner, or you are changing things up when it comes to your children completely. It's that last test Saturn is giving you, and a lot of times it could be leaving you a beautiful gift, maybe some of you a family, pregnancy, a new romantic partner, taking a relationship to the next level, or improving your relationship with your children over the next 2-3 months. On the 29th, Mercury goes direct, where we can really be lifted out of any confusion we've been in throughout throughout the month, and on the 30th, Venus will enter Sagittarius, your second house. So from the 30th of November, once Mercury is direct and really all the way into December, an excellent time for shopping, buying yourself something nice you're going to enjoy for a really long time, wining, dining, indulging in life's pleasures. So November is a time to review, reanalyze. You might be really reanalyzing your relationships, your finances, your appearance, but watch out for arguments, disagreements, people trying to trigger you. I hope this was helpful, Scorpio. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of action and anger, will be in your first house from November 4th until December 14th. So all of November and half of December, you're going to have a lot of energy to get stuff done. This can make you very impatient. So watch out for arguments, disagreements with loved ones. You could actually be initiating a lot of the arguments. Little things could be pissing you off. You're going to have a lot of extra energy. It's really good for initiating something new, starting something new, whether it is a new diet program, a workout routine, something where you are moving your body, getting some projects done. Otherwise, you can have more disagreements, arguments. You can feel more impatient. And trigger warning, this month you probably will, because Mercury, the planet of communication that is going retrograde, is also sitting with Mars in your first house. So you can get easily triggered. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. A lot of you might actually be really celebrating your goals that you have achieved, especially when it comes to health. The ruler of the full moon is in your 11th house. So a lot of you could be really benefiting, getting huge gains out of maybe getting fit, working on a project and it is well received, maybe gaining more followers on social media, meeting new people, new friends, associating with new groups. For those of you who own a business, it could be a time where you might let go of some employees. They might leave you. Things at work are changing. Your coworkers may be changing. Your hours may be changing. For some of you, this may even be a time where you pay off some debts. November 6th, Venus will enter Scorpio. It's going to meet up with the sun in your 12th house. And what's going to bring you a lot of joy all of November is rest, sleep, beauty treatments, things like that. November 7th, Venus will square Pluto, and this can really intensify any relationship issues, bring up things like jealousy, manipulation. Also on the 7th, Uranus is now retrograding back into the sign of Taurus in your 6th house. So from the 7th of November all the way until April 26th of 2026, Uranus is back in your 6th house. If you do have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus or Scorpio, you can feel this more intensely, but things could be really changing in your health, your daily routine, work, employees, coworkers. A lot of that could be changing sporadically from now until April of next year. November 9th, Mercury stations retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, so right on your ascendant, and it is going to be retrograding all the way until November 29th, so basically all of November. So what does this mean for you? It is starting its retrograde motion in your first house. So there could be things about your health that you are now contemplating, wanting to change. You might want to change your hair, your look, your wardrobe. You might also want to change the trajectory of your life path, your career, a lot of big changes that you may be contemplating all of November. Now for you, Mercury rules the 7th house of relationships, business partnerships, and the 10th house of career and public image. So whenever Mercury goes retrograde, things at work with bosses, with colleagues, with the projects that you do for work might kind of go haywire, might need to be redone, revised. Work schedules might be up in the air. You might not know when you're working. Schedules changing randomly, and your 7th house. So you might actually be contemplating getting rid of certain business contracts if you own a business. This can also mean that you are thinking about past relationships The past relationships that you were in might come back into your life. So exes might reach out. You might be talking to an ex, thinking about an ex. All this is very much possible. And of course, back up all your data, check all your emails, double check your stuff. And to add to all the confusion, on the 11th, Jupiter, the planet that rules over your sign, is stationing retrograde in your 8th house of shared resources. There may be things that you need to revise when it comes to household responsibilities, when it comes to bills, sharing money with another person, a partner, a spouse, insurance policies, insurance plans, taxes. And you may also be contemplating, like I said, a huge life change, a big transformation in your looks, your health. This is all things that you are analyzing. November 20th, Mercury will conjunct the Sun. We call this a GEMINI. This is where you are initiating a brand new beginning. And November 20th, we have a new moon in Scorpio. So this is happening in your 12th house. This is your subconscious mind, your mental health. And this is a new beginning. It's like you're getting new information about what you need to do to change any negative habits. So this can be a time where a lot of you are letting go of negative thinking patterns, negative habits, ways that you self-sabotage yourself. This new moon is really all about self-improvement for you because the ruler of this new moon is in your first house, your ascendant, your physical body. So whether it is a physical change that you are starting and initiating, or just a psychological one that involves your thinking process, your thinking patterns, you are initiating this new beginning. November 21st, the Sun enters Sagittarius, your sign, so the spotlight will be on you. November 24th, Mercury will conjunct with Venus in your 12th house, an excellent time for creativity, pampering yourself. But this is also a time where you might hear back from an ex, or maybe think about them. Maybe even a relationship starts behind the scenes, or maybe it's even with somebody that you work with. November 27th, Saturn will turn direct at 25 degrees of Pisces. And if you have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Gemini, then you're going to feel this transit even more. It's the last time Saturn will be back in your 4th house for about 28 years. But there can be issues with your home, with your vehicle, family members, more responsibilities. It may give you the feeling of being stuck. Maybe you want to move, change your furniture, and you can't yet. Things are confusing. You might just feel restricted. And this is just for the very end of November, December, and January. After that, they will change signs again and go into your 5th house. November 29th, Mercury will go direct in your 12th house. So anything hidden from you can come to light. And any confusion that you may have had about a business partner, romantic partner, a spouse, or at work will finally get sorted out. And all the confusion can be lifted. And November 30th, so right at the very end of the month, and really all of December, Venus is going to be in your sign, Sagittarius, an excellent time for shopping, beauty treatments, a new haircut, new clothing, any of that. You're going to be more charming, attract partners to you easily if you are single and looking. So look forward to that at the end of November and all of December. I hope that this was helpful. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars, the planet of anger and action, will be in your 12th house from November 4th until December 14th. The next month and a half, you might have a very hard time going to sleep, getting to sleep, or even have some nightmares, bad dreams, thoughts that may keep you up at night. There might be some gossip about you behind your back. There might even be some fallout with certain friends. There can be a fallout with certain friends, an argument with an older sibling. There can be more expenses when it comes to vehicle, when it comes to your home, or on account of family members. People from the past can show up or try to communicate with you in some way. And this can be a time where you just feel more low energy. You don't have as much energy to get things done. You might feel a little bit more tired. Mercury will also be sitting with Mars. So watch out for arguments, disagreements, people trying to trigger you. And as we go into the full moon, there can be a lot of triggers really for everybody because Mars is with Mercury. So people could be fighting, arguing. November 5th, the full moon in Taurus is landing in your 5th house area. There could be a romantic situation that is coming to an end, or maybe you are taking it to the next level. This can also be that you have been working on a creative project and you are now releasing it to the public. Something creative that you've been working on, because the ruler, Venus, at the time of the full moon is in your 10th house of career and public image. One of your children could have been working on something big and is now gaining the recognition for it. Or your children could be ending a chapter in their lives and starting another. If they play sports, they're on a sport team right now, they could be winning competitions. Maybe they were single, now they're getting married. Maybe they are having their first baby. There could be some big change going on in their life. Remember, full moons are endings, but it's also a culmination, the highest point of something that you have been working on. So it's also gaining recognition, gaining rewards. It's not necessarily an ending. On a mundane level, you could be letting go of some investments you've been holding on to as well. The 5th house rules investments. Or even releasing some hobbies. Ways that you have fun no longer bring you joy, so you are replacing them with something that brings you more fulfillment. It's more joyful, something more fun. November 6th, Venus enters Scorpio where it joins the sun. So what's going to bring you a lot of joy, a lot of fulfillment is socializing, hanging out with friends, putting yourself in group situations. That is where the sun is shining a light on anyways for November for you. So that becomes very important. And on November 7th, we have Venus squaring Pluto. This can bring some strong attractions to maybe somebody in a friend group that you have, or somebody your friend introduces you to. And this can also bring a money-making opportunity that can come out of a group setting with friends, with like-minded people, or maybe it's something that they say that helps you realize, I can make money this way. So pay attention to that, especially from around the 5th to the 10th of November. Also on the 7th, Uranus retrogrades back to the sign of Taurus, your 5th house of love, romance, creativity, children. Children can start acting erratic, acting up, or maybe completely changing, trying out different things. Even unexpected pregnancy is possible. And your romantic life could change again. You can meet somebody and have a relationship unfold really quickly, or maybe you sporadically just decide that you no longer want to be with somebody that you are dating. Most of you might not feel it that way, but those of you who do have planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus in your 5th house, you can feel that big shift, a lot of changes in that area. And the stuff I'm talking about when it comes to Uranus can happen from November all the way till April 26th, so the end of April. So a few months you can see a lot changing in your romantic sector. November 9th, Mercury will station retrograde in your 12th house of your subconscious mind, your mental health. Mercury is the ruler of your 6th and 9th house, and it is retrograding in your 12th house. So there could be expenses around health, around pets, travel, immigration, school, learning. So issues around these things can come up in the month of November. Mercury retrograding in your 12th house, along with Mars, can really give you the ability to let go of any and all negative habits. Negative thinking patterns, all of this can be released. It might take more than one try, but you can really get to the root cause of problems. Things that are kept from you, you don't know about, can also be revealed to you. Make sure that you double check any and all emails, back up your data. Electronics may go haywire, the typical Mercury retrograde stuff. On the 12th, Mercury will conjunct with Mars at an exact conjunction, so be very careful of travel. Be more cautious with your health. There can be some disagreements with a father figure. There can also be disagreements with coworkers or employees. Actually, if you own a business, it might be a time where you find out things that you were unaware of when it comes to your business or your employees. And this can be a time where we can have some more explosive arguments with people, or people could just try to start things with us. So be cautious of that. Keep that in mind. people can be more aggravating in November. On the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 7th house of partnership. So you could really be rethinking a partnership. An ex from your past might contact you. You might think about them a little bit more. There could be a situation where a friend turns into a romantic partner turns into a friend. You should probably also analyze any and all business contracts. Make sure that they are still what you need. Everything I just talked about that is Jupiter going retrograde related is in effect from November 11th all the way until March. On the 19th, as Mercury retrograde goes back into your 11th house, you may be really analyzing all of your close relationships, your friendships. And if there is a big goal that you are working on, a lot of you may even change your future goals. You may go back to the drawing board and be like, maybe I don't want this. Maybe I want something else. So your future goals can be changing right now. November 20th, Mercury retrograde comes together with the sun. We call it the GEMINI, and this is when we have a new moon in Scorpio in your 11th house. So there is something brand new that's going to be born in your life within the next month. So from the end of November going into December, whether it is new friendships, you joining new clubs, new groups of people, meeting new friends, or working on a big long-term goal. You're working on something that might need to change a few times before it finally comes together, but it's a big long-term goal. So other people, friendships, groups become really important to you this month, Capricorn. The 11th house is also the love we receive from other people. So you may finally be gaining a lot of traction with your business, maybe gaining more followers. If you're on social media, people will be recognizing your work. November 21st, the sun moves into your 12th house. So you want to do things more behind the scenes, hide away a little bit more. November 24th, Venus will come together with Mercury in your 11th house. An excellent time to express yourself creatively, come up with creative ideas, have some really good heart-to-heart conversations with friends, people that you associate with. November 27th, Saturn goes direct at 25 degrees of Pisces. Now you've got Pisces and Neptune back in your 3rd house, but it's just for a little bit, that very end of November, December, and then January. So any confusing situations that have been going on in your community, in your neighborhood, with your siblings can be brought to light. Be more watchful of schedules or anything like that. Neptune can make us more dreamy, and Mercury is retrograde. So mistakes can come up that need to be revised, especially when it deals with things like paperwork, emails, electronics. At the very end of the month, on the 30th, Venus will go into Sagittarius, meeting up with Mars in your 12th house. So the very end of November, going into December, it's an excellent time to really pamper yourself, get a massage, get some beauty treatment, and it's really all about you being to yourself and really enjoying life's pleasures. But that's just at the end of the month. All right, Capricorn, I hope this was helpful. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars, the planet of action and anger, will be transiting your 11th house of groups, friendships, hopes, and dreams from November 4th until December 14th. All of November and half of December, there can be some tension with groups, charities that you belong to, even friendships. There may even be arguments with friends, with an older sibling. This can also mean that you are working on a creative project, maybe something that you are teaching, or you're working on something with a group and you're putting a lot of effort into this new project. There may be a lot of social events, social gatherings over the next month and a half, putting a lot of thought into future plans, future goals. Mercury will also be with Mars, so there could be intense conversations, maybe even arguments. Friendships can seem a little bit harder to deal with. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus, and the moon loves being in Taurus. It is more stable, so this is a culmination, an ending, something that you have been expecting, and this could be around home, family, finishing up a renovation project, actually moving for some of you. The ruler Venus in your 9th house area, this could mean that you are legally ending a contract. So maybe you are moving because you are getting a divorce, a breakup, taking care of immigration paperwork. Just be mindful. There can be some intense conversations, arguments that come up around the full moon because we do have Mars sitting together with Mercury. November 6th, Venus enters Scorpio, your 10th house, where it joins the sun. So what's going to bring you a lot of fulfillment is really showcasing your projects, working on your career. On the 7th, Pluto will square Venus in your 10th house, and there could be a clash with how you want to be perceived and how the public is perceiving you. This square can bring up some insecurities about appearance, about how you deliver when it comes to work, when it comes to career. Also on the 7th, retrograding Uranus moves back into your 4th house. So there could be changes going on with the home, the way you want to redecorate, maybe wanting to move. And those of you who have personal planets at the very end of Taurus, from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, can feel that a lot is changing in your life, your home life, your relationships, your career, your image, and these changes can unfold over the next few months. November 9th, Mercury will station retrograde in your 11th house of groups, friendships. There could be things that you have to redo, rework, reanalyze when it comes to friendships, your goals, your future vision. There can be some arguments, heated discussions with a friend, an older sibling, within a group or club that you belong to. You could be reanalyzing your friendships, your goals for the future. On the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 6th house of health, routine, which will give you a lot of pause, time to reflect about your health, your daily schedule. Some of you may even have to analyze your employees if you own a business, which ones you need to keep, which ones you need to let go of. There could be changes within your work environment. Things may come to light, be brought to your attention when it comes to health, when it comes to work, and you're going to have to think about which way you want to proceed. November is going to be a month to review your goals, your life, to analyze everything. So you could see what works, what doesn't work, what needs to change. November 18th. Retrograding Mercury will go into Scorpio, your 10th house, where you might be reviewing, revising work projects. Watch out for communication issues. Make sure you double check everything when you send out those emails. There can be a lot of miscommunication during Mercury retrograde, so just double check everything. On the 20th, as Mercury retrograde conjuncts the sun, this is a big reset when it comes to your career, what you want to put out there into the world. For some of you, you may be starting a new business, a new work project, a collaboration, something that you're working on, you want to release to the public. A big reset in your 10th house of career, maybe a promotion, a new job. And November 20th, we also have a new moon in Scorpio. This is the 10th house. So there is a new beginning being initiated when it comes to your career. And the ruler of this new moon is in the 11th house. This new beginning could be tied to collaborations, groups, a group helping you with a project, or planning for your future, because the 11th house is the house of future plans. So a lot of you are setting big goals when it comes to your career ambitions. November 21st, the sun enters your 11th house, where socialization, hanging out with groups, getting together with your friends becomes really important towards the end of the month. These get-together socialization events could have to do with your business. Your partner or spouse could be having a lot of get-togethers, business meetings with groups, employees, friends. November 24th, Mercury will conjunct with Venus in your 10th house, and this is excellent for creative work, collaborations, teaching, publishing, and you could make a lot of money from something like this because your 8th house ruler and your 9th house ruler are combining in your 10th house of career. November 27th, Saturn turns direct in your 2nd house, and this is going to give you clarity about your financial situation, what you need, what you want from a job, a career, or an income stream. The 2nd house is what we value. It's our close friends, it's our family, it's our possessions. So you might be really rethinking what it is that you can do away with, what it is that is really important to you. This is the last run Saturn is making in your second house for 28 years. But the next few months, you might see yourself budgeting more or setting new financial goals. November 29th, Mercury finally turns direct, giving you a lot of clarity within your career projects, your career ambitions. Whatever you've been working on all month can finally come together towards the end of November. And November 30th, Venus will enter Sagittarius, and this can really smooth things over in your friendships if there have been any disagreements, arguments throughout November, or at the very end of November going into December. You can meet a future romantic partner through a friendship circle, through a friend, or turn a friend into a romantic partner. I hope this was helpful, Aquarius. Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. From November 4th till December 14th, Mars, the planet of action and anger, is in your 10th house of career and public image. So for the next month and a half, you can be really advancing in your career. Working a lot harder, you're going to be a lot busier. The downside to Mars transiting the 10th house is there could be arguments, disagreements with authority figures. So bosses, people at work, be more cautious driving so that you do not get a speeding ticket or anything like that. But generally, Mars in the 10th works really well for career. You're going to be extra motivated to work harder, to be seen, to advance in your career. So really the next month and a half, you're going to be very honed in, focused on your career, your image. From the 4th until the 19th, there is a bigger chance of having some angry or maybe even intense communication as Mars is coming together with Mercury. It can mean that there's some explosive fights or just you get more angry, somebody else gets angry. So definitely watch your communication. November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus. This is your 3rd house of communication, speech, and the ruler Venus is going into the 8th house of shared resources. And we do have a grand water trine going on, which could be that you are manifesting and ending, celebrating something having to do with speech, communication, courses, social media. At the same time, Mercury is conjunct Mars, so there could be a lot of triggering conversations happening. This can be a time where you actually have those long-awaited conversations you've been wanting to have about finances, bills, household responsibilities. Some of you could be even teaching or finishing up a course, especially if it deals with metaphysics, psychology, anything like that, any kind of research. There could also be an ending in your environment, such as your favorite store closing up, you choosing to hang out in different places, needing to buy a new computer, a new cell phone, electronics. This may also indicate something coming to an end in the lives of your siblings. This full moon is aiming to really change how you connect with the world, how you communicate, not just with others, but with yourself, because the ruler going into the 8th house of transformation is a great time to employ new and fresh ideas on how to talk to yourself more positively, how to interact with others. A perfect time to really shift a negative mindset. If you've been talking to yourself in a negative way, this is an excellent time to really change that up, let go of this. November 6th, Venus enters Scorpio where it joins the sun. So this is a time where you could be really focused on learning, on teaching, thinking about future travel plans. But as the sun is in the same house as Venus, this can bring a little bit of trouble to Venusian things, and coupled with Mercury retrograde, probably not an ideal time for shopping or making big purchases in the month of November. But you are going to get a lot of joy from reading, from learning, from teaching, from connecting to people all over the world even. November 7th, Venus will square Pluto, which could really intensify any ongoing relationship issues. Also on the 7th, Uranus moves back into Taurus. And those of you who have personal planets from 25 to 30 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius could be going through some changes in your life right now. November 9th, Mercury will station retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, your 10th house. So you might be needing to revise a work project or a collaboration. When Mercury is retrograde, it's good to back up all our data, review, revise, and this could be a time when you are hearing back from people you have not heard from or really going over things, especially career related. Mercury is also the ruler of your 4th house of home, family, and it's also the ruler of your 7th house of partnerships, business partnerships, romantic partnerships. It could be a time where you hear from a past partner, a past lover, or you may be unsure about a new partnership. There may also be unexpected car or home repairs that come up. On the 11th, Jupiter will station retrograde in your 5th house of children, romance, creative projects, and it can also be a time where you are really taking in everything that you have learned, pivoting a creative project, rethinking a new romance. On the 12th, as Mercury retrograde conjuncts with Mars in your 10th house, really watch out for arguments, disagreements, especially with your bosses, authority figure, people at work. There could be a lot of miscommunication going on. So not an ideal time for any kind of collaboration or business contracts on or around the 12th. On the 19th, Mercury retrogrades back to Scorpio, where now you could be analyzing, reviewing travel plans, plans to publish your work, having to make pivots to a legal filing, a legal case, or maybe rethinking schooling, what it is that you want to learn, what it is that you want from your future. So you could be really revising a lot of things that have to do with your career, learning, teaching, your future, maybe even immigration for some of you, immigration paperwork. There might be things that need to be redone, revised when it comes to these areas. November 20th, there is a new moon in Scorpio. We also have Mercury and Venus in Scorpio, so we're talking about skill sets. Something new in the 9th house area is opening up for you that has to do with teaching, with learning, maybe even travel, moving, and the ruler Mars is in the 10th house. So this is something that you are planning, initiating. So a lot of you might be even thinking about publishing your work, whether it is a book, a course, content for social media. You are embarking on new teachings, learning something new that will benefit your career, or you could be signing contracts, partnering with somebody, and this will really benefit your career. The 9th house is also the house of luck, higher power, higher knowledge. So in November, you are tapping into that. So Mars can actually bring you a lot of luck, especially if you are doing Martian things, working out, being courageous, taking the lead role. And it's sitting in your 10th house. So you've got to take on the lead role at work, with colleagues, with your business. And if you feel like things are hectic this month, it's a sign you need to maybe move your body a little bit more, exercise, go for longer walks. This can be a great advantage for you in the month of November. And those physical movements will really help you because Mars is squaring your ascendant. So if there's frustration, you need to let it out with some movement. On the 27th, Saturn will turn direct in Pisces. Those of you who are Pisces rising from 25 to 30 degrees will feel your last Saturn test, and you might be making huge life changes. Neptune is also back in your 1st house for one last round. So for the next few months, there can be confusion, things unfolding in your life where you need to see the truth about a situation, about what you are doing. You may feel more creative, like you are connected to the divine, and Saturn can really help you sort things out. On the 29th, Mercury will turn direct in your 9th house. This is an excellent month for skill sets, producing content, working on your career. There can be things this month that need to be gone over, redone, revised, and do watch out for miscommunication. But other than that, this is a month where you could really be flourishing in your career. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe for more.